This is Bruce Blackman of Starbuck, and you're listening to the Paul Leslie Hour.
Hey, you here? Oh, yeah. And have we got a show for you? It just feels right. Welcome to episode number 1048, where we'll be joined by a yacht rock icon, Bruce Blackman of Starbuck. Now, Bruce is an exceptional songwriter, a great recording artist, super producer, and on top of that, he's a marvelous storyteller and a super nice chap. Paul's given me the sign, so before I hand it over to him, let me just say you can always go to thepaulleslie.com/support. And as always, we thank you in advance for watching and listening. Oh yeah, hi to Marco. Hey, Marco! Now, starting the show just feels right.
Well, Bruce Blackman, how are you?
I'm doing well.
That's good to hear. That is very good to hear. Well, you know, the suggestion to do an interview with you came all the way from Brazil. Brazil, exactly. A guy, a very nice guy, Marco is his name. And I swear to you, I'm not making this up. He sent an email and he said, you ought to interview Bruce Blackman of Starbuck fame. And I thought, that feels right. So tell us, how important would you say persistence has been on this musical journey you've been on?
I would rate it at approximately 100%. No persistence, nothing happens.
Isn't that the truth?
It is absolutely true. It is absolutely true.
What would you say has always been the purpose of the art you create?
You know, I'm not sure. I started writing songs when I was in the fourth grade, and I just always have. It wasn't a purpose other than it's something that I enjoyed doing, and I'd done it for many, many years before even having a thought that you can make a living writing songs.
Would you say that ability to write songs, would you say that's a craft that you've honed, or would you say it's something that's just kind of come natural to you?
Well, it came natural to me, but I definitely own the craft because I listen to so many things, even movie themes. How did they do that? What were those chord changes? And listen to the way lyrics were structured and what made a good lyric and a bad one. I always try to find what I call a stopper line. A line like the Southern Bells Are Held at Night. And I always look for what I call a drop dead chord, something off the beat path chord structurally, which I mainly picked up from listening to movie themes and Dave Brubeck and Burt Bacharach and the way that they structured music. Those are the two main influences on me. The first concert I ever went to was Dave Brubeck, and I was about 15 feet from his piano, and I just fell out on the floor. So that's the way it's been for me.
Dave Brubeck, interesting. So tell us about some of the other influences on your work. You said Dave Brubeck, the great Burt Bacharach. Who else?
Well, Henry Mancini, John Williams, the composer. There wasn't. I've never been able to say, oh, it was the Beatles or the Eagles or anything like that. I mean, that's music I enjoyed, but the four that I mentioned were definitely the main ones. I started out as a trumpet player, and I was in the lab band and doing big band arrangements and that sort of thing. And I always kind of thought that way. For instance, the Moonlight Feels Right, the opening refrain, the da 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 da. If you could imagine a big band, horns, three horns doing that. It's basically a big band arrangement done with Moog synthesizers. Those were the main things that affected me.
Well, you come from Greenville, Mississippi. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, it's occurred to me on more than a few occasions that Mississippi has brought some great artists, great songwriters, and great singers into the world. I mean, we could start with Elvis Presley, but we could mention, Jimmy Buffett. Would you say that being from Mississippi, has that had some kind of an influence on you?
Oh, absolutely. Just from my hometown, I can name. How about Pablo Cruz? How about Hamilton Joe Franklin Reynolds? I mean, I'm talking from the same town, Greenville, Mississippi. But the Delta. I mean, I grew up listening to blues. The Delta, the home of the blues, but I didn't want to do that because everybody was doing that. So when I got in my first band called the Lancers, we did exactly the opposite. We did, mainly English, Dave Clark Five, Beatles, and that sort of thing, and we would start doing original songs as well. Got my first record deal when I was 17 years old with a group called the Phantoms, and of course nothing came from it. But we were signed to a label called Hip. This was in the Stax heydays. They were in Memphis, it was only 90 miles from Greenville, and we got a record deal with they wanted to start a label for white artists, and so they named the label Hip, and that was my first record deal. Made zero, but it was quite an experience. Got to meet Booker T and Steve Cropper and those people. And I was just a kid, just utterly amazed out of my mind about that, because they were very big, had a lot of hits at that time.
Absolutely. I have to say, got to interview Steve Cropper over this last year, and we might come from different generations, but I just had this feeling like it just doesn't get any better than this. Tell us about some of the people that you've met. Who would you say you were the most elated to meet?
Well, that would be a kind of a three-way tie. It would be, maybe four. Jeff Lynne, Tom Scholes, Burt Bacharach, and David Foster.
Wow.
My wife and I had dinner with Burt Bacharach and Carol Bear Sager, and I got to sit with Burt for like 3 hours. We were discussing chord structures and the use of flat fives and raised nines, and I mean, it was just so much fun because I mean, the guy had something like 50 hits, just insanely good.
Oh my goodness, that is just mind blowing to be sitting with the great Burt Bacharach for that long.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
yeah.
Jeff Lynne was very nice. Enjoyed talking with him, and Tom Scholes too. Tom Scholes is an incredibly smart guy. We did several shows with Boston when we were touring.
Well, I could see you keeping somebody very engaged in doing research for this interview. I listened to a lot of your interviews, and there's a lot of things people could say about you, that you're a brilliant songwriter. I could say you're a yacht rock star and icon, but you're also an incredible raconteur. You're a great storyteller.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. I'm also hoping you can tell us about you appeared on some of the most iconic shows of all time. I'm talking Merv Griffin, American Bandstand, The Midnight Special, Don Kirshner in concert. Who really knocked you out from that world?
Easy answer from that one. Merv Griffin. I got to sit with Merv after we did the show. Merv was a big band singer, and he's a great piano player. And Merv came. He said, Bruce, have you ever noticed a similarity in "Moonlight Feels Right" and the song "Fever"? And I said, no, I haven't. He said, well, come, let me show you. He sat down at the piano and just started scalding the piano, and he played "Fever," which is basically a minor to a major 9 to a 5/7 structure, which is exactly what Moonlight Feels is. Moonlight Feels Right is that chord structure. And so there is a similarity in that. And he also said there's also the same chord structure that's in the Pink Panther. And it never even crossed my mind, but there's that similarity, which goes right back to what I said, like Henry Mancini being one of my major influences.
Well, you're not the first person who told me, listen, Merv Griffin, he really knew his music.
Oh yes, he did. Oh yes, he did. He had a place in the Bahamas and told Peggy and I about it. And we ended up going to his place in the Bahamas, which became the one and only resort, which is in where they filmed one of the James Bond movies. And I was just thrilled to be there. He was quite a real estate magnate.
Interesting stuff. Now, how long have you been married?
51 years.
51 years. You know, a lot of artists, especially in the music business, but all types of people, they'll tell you things like, you know, the professional success, that's not where the real success is. The real success is your marriage and your family.
Absolutely.
What would you say the secret to that is? 51 years, congratulations.
Well, I think the secret to that, it has nothing to do with me. It's I married God's own angel. That's the secret.
Yeah.
So that's it. You know, I'm nothing. She's everything.
Well, she has to be a very special lady. Tell us a little bit about her.
Well, I met Peggy in college, and she was dating this hotshot football player from Ole Miss. So I asked her out, and she said no. I asked her out a second time, and she said no rather definitively. And then the third time, using the three-strike rule, we were coming back from a pep rally at the stadium. The wind was blowing a little bit, and she was walking in front of me, and I walked up beside her, and I asked her out again. And she said yes, which gave me the opening line for Moonlight Feels Right. The wind blew some luck in my direction.
That's awesome. So did she tell you, what was it about that third time? What made her make that decision?
I don't know. I'd have to ask her that. I'll maybe get back to your original question about persistence.
Yeah. That's where I was going with that. Absolutely.
Hey, here it is in the middle of this episode, the Paul Leslie Hour. We're going to take just a quick moment to ask a favor. Won't you subscribe to Paul's YouTube channel? I'm sure if you do, you will be one happy person. And above all else, following Paul on X, formerly known as Twitter, at the Paul Leslie. And remember to say hi to Paul. Now, back to the show.
You know, I'm curious to know, would you say that you work a little bit on music every single day?
Every day, 7 days a week, 365. I get up every morning and I spend the whole day either writing, arranging, or talking with radio stations from a promotional standpoint. But I would say I average 3 to 4 hours a day just writing. And I always have. Right now, I've got about 50 songs in various stages of disrepair that I'm working on. And Peggy is my A&R director. You know, when I get something developed enough, I play it for her, and she gives me the, what were you thinking? Or that's great, you know. And so for the ones that she feels like it should be, because the next step is going into the studio, and then you get into a lot of time and a lot of money. So you're trying to make the best selections, but then I have no idea what a hit is, and I don't think anybody else does. You know, it's people out there that make that decision. So I just write them, and I like using a wide variety of styles, from bossa nova to Latin pop to pop to whatever. The song tells me what it wants to be.
Very interesting. That's something that I admire, is you have made a kind of a priority to, you understand the importance of radio airplay, including internet radio airplay, and doing things like this. It's important. Promotion.
Oh, absolutely. It is, because the internet is what, really it started in 2022. I started releasing singles instead of waiting 3 years to complete an album. And the streaming is just unbelievable. I get to see every day the first thing I'll do after I had coffee is I'll look and see my streaming report for that day. And there they are. There'll be 126 songs listed. The best one will be something like 6,000 streams, and the worst one will be one stream in Borneo. I can see every country. There's 177 countries, city, even the number one cities. It'll give me the top 50 cities and on and on. And I really like it. It's opened up the whole world. And it's just, I know you hear most artists complaining about streaming or being labeled as something like yacht rock or whatever. But hey, if you're important enough to be labeled anything that's good, say thank you and shut up.
Yeah, I like that. It's interesting to me that you can make so many songs available. And for example, if somebody has a Spotify subscription, I was going through, I was at the gym today. You have your really well-known song and you have other songs that people know, but can you tell us about a song that somebody can look up that maybe is underrated that you felt, oh, this hasn't gotten the airplay that it should?
I would say I love doing nothing, even though that went number one in beach music and trop rock and yacht rock and charted in adult contemporary. But I wrote that song for George Strait, and they took it to George Strait, and he passed on it. He said it was too racy because there's a line in there that says a young tall senorita making a margarita just for me. That was racy for some reason. And we also took it to Kenny Chesney, and he passed on it. So I decided to record it myself, and it did real well. But I think it would be a blockbuster for either one of those artists.
Interesting. So you actively pitch your songs to artists?
Yeah, I do. I haven't had any success with it, but I don't let them sit there. I just I go ahead and record it on myself. I think I've recorded songs on myself that other artists could have done a much better job. But it is what it is. You know, Nashville, there's also the thing about they want to own everything.
Right.
They want to own the publishing, or you got to give them half writers and all that stuff. I don't do any of that. I own my own masters, my own publishing. I own all the rights, and I don't care who it is. I'm not going to say somebody was a half writer if they weren't.
I'll tell you one that I liked a lot. In the Pale of an Eastern Moon.
That was after our third Starbuck album. Well, the Private Stock went out of business. That was our first label. Right after we released the Rock and Roll Rocket album, and Everybody Be Dancing was number 38 with a bullet. Record company folds, and of course the single died. Then we got a deal with United Artists. Well, Gary Rafferty, is that the right name for Baker Street?
I think so, yeah.
Jerry Rafferty. He was the marketing tower that surfaced for United Artists. So we had a single out called Searching for a Thrill that went maybe number 45, something like that. They dropped us. So I went in the studio after that and just self-financed it and recorded The Pale of an Eastern Moon was one of the songs. And shopped it around the labels. But I didn't want to use the name Starbuck because I'd send it to United Artists, and they had dropped Starbuck, and son of a gun if I didn't get a record deal with United Artists. And I used the band name Corona, bad name now, but it's a Swedish gold coin spelled with a K. And so I used that name and got a second record deal with United Artists. They had no idea that it was the same person from Starbuck.
Well, I'm looking, those are vinyl records behind you of Starbuck. And people can listen to you. People have followed you from listening on vinyl to cassette, now on streaming. What is it like to have that kind of enduring success where people go back and listen again and again?
Oh, I love it. I never expected any such thing to happen, but I love it because, you know, in one sense, I'm lucky, and a lot of artists were, because we started with vinyl, then it went to 8-track, cassette, and then CD, and then download. And Moonlight Feels Right, for instance, has now sold over 11 million copies. but that wasn't to 11 million different people. It was people upgrading to, or moving to the new formats. So it just created a whole new genre of sales because of that.
Now, we started with persistence. To what else would you credit your success?
I guess just a love of music. I mean, I hear melody in everything. As a matter of fact, I'm working on a song right now that is the melody to my daughter's doorbell ring. I wrote a song, My Next Door Neighbor is T-Pain, and he has a gate that when it opens, it makes a melody. I've written a song based off of the melody of T-Pain's gate. I got to tell him that. But I hear music in a room. I hear melodies, the clatter of conversation and the clinking of glasses. It all makes music to me. So that's it. I'm just completely nutcase obsessed with it, you could say.
Well, a real quick note, thank you to your daughter for decorating the room. When I think about people that I met back in Atlanta, she is absolutely one of the nicest that I've met.
Yeah, she is. Me
Yeah.
too. Same for me. And I've known her a long time.
Absolutely. How do you think we can greet each day fully?
When I wake up every day, the first thing I think is I woke up. So that's all you get. All you get, your entire life is in front of your eyes right now. That's all you get. You want to live fully, just understand that and don't waste your damn time.
Wonderful. If you could go back in time and you could give the 18-year-old Bruce Blackman any piece of advice, if you could take him and put your hands on his shoulder and say, Bruce, listen to me. This is what you need to know. What would you say?
Easy answer. You'll think it may be a little bit odd, but I would say, Bruce, do not play football. I suffered massive, massive injuries playing football. And that would be my advice.
Interesting. Very interesting. Well, would you say that nonetheless, exercise is a pretty important thing?
Oh, absolutely it is. I lift weights 6 days a week. On Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I do 7 exercises. Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, I do the opposing muscles. I ride my bike. I do an exercise routine at night if I'm watching TV, where I do one-legged knee bends and all sorts of things. Absolutely. I ended up being a track guy. I was a state sprint champion, and I got a scholarship to Mississippi State. And so I've been very active with exercise, and track was something I could do without injuring myself.
What is the best thing about being Bruce Blackman?
Well, 2 things. My family and the fact that I can make a living doing something that I love, that I would be doing for free even if I was a ditch digger.
Yeah, you're very blessed to be able to do music.
Yes, definitely. Blessed, lucky, whatever you want to call it. It's just great.
Do you consider yourself as one of the architects of yacht rock?
Well, I don't know. I've seen a lot of comments that Moonlight Feels Right was the godfather of yacht rock. To me, I mean, the definition of yacht rock to me is just jazz pop. It's just, in the so-called yacht rock song, and people argue about it, but it's more in-depth or sophisticated, if you want to say, chord changes like Steely Dan, that sort of thing. But hey, I'm happy to have the label. I have no idea how they define it, because they just argue. I see a lot of them say it's got to have the Doobie Brothers bounce, and yet they consider Sailing, Christopher Cross, one of the greatest yacht rock songs of all time. And where's the Doobie Brothers bounce in that? Well, none of it makes sense, but I appreciate it. My musical taste lend toward that type of music.
Is there somebody you've always wanted to collaborate with that you haven't yet?
Yeah. Donald Fagen, Jeff Lynne. I think that'd be the only ones that are living that I would love to collaborate. Well, Paul McCartney, that'd be cool.
Yeah, why not, right?
You got to give him a buzz, you know.
Well, anything on the horizon with Bruce Blackman?
Yeah, I'm just having my whole next year singles set up. Right now, my song "Jones About You" is number 5 on the beach music charts. You know, everything today is a niche. When I was in the 70s, in Billboard, for instance, you had 4 charts. You had the top 100, R&B, country, and adult contemporary. Today, Billboard has over 200 charts. So everything is niche. Of course, all you're ever going to hear about is the top 40 Taylor Swift stuff for the young ones. But in fact, it may be that Andrea Bocelli, it might be the best-selling artist in the world. We just don't know. But anyway, I have my new single will come out in January. It's called Beach Radio, which I've done specifically for the beach market, which also ties over into the trop rock market, adult contemporary, and yacht rock. Now, those are the 4 genres that I go for. And I just have a series of singles, and after that, we'll be walking in the park and so on. So it's all mapped out.
Well, speaking of the tropical rock thing, did you ever cross paths with Jimmy Buffett through the years?
I did not. I came close because I did some sessions in Muscle Shoals with Mac McAnally, who was Jimmy Buffett's guitar player for forever and a day. And
Yeah.
Jimmy was supposed to come there, but he didn't. So I only came close. I didn't actually get to meet him. I wish I had.
Well, Mac McAnally, that's another Mississippian and very nice guy.
Yes. He's from Meridian. And Meridian, Mississippi was the first radio station on earth that played Moonlight Feels Right. Paul Davis is from there as well.
It's a very small world.
Yep. Getting shrinking every day.
Well, I always think that it's not about who you want to interview, it's who you want to interview again. And Bruce Blackman, it's been a great pleasure to have you on. I wish you continued success. And I always like to let the last word go to the guest. What would you say to anybody who's tuned in with us?
Hey, enjoy life and appreciate it.
I like that. And everybody, they can find you. What's the website?
Moonlightfeelsright.com.
All right. Moonlightfeelsright.com. Well, Bruce, thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure.
Thanks, Paul. I enjoyed it immensely.
I enjoyed it very much.
Okay.
Until next time.
Okay.
You know, the Paul Leslie Hour is made possible by people like you, listeners, viewers. Please go to thepaulleslie.com/support, and you'll know what to do when you're there. Thank you. Thank you, everyone who contributes. Performance of The Entertainer intro song by John Primorano. And of course, this is your announcer speaking. See you next time on the Paul Leslie Hour.